I'm going to chant one more time. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sagaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I welcome you all to our Upavasa Fasting for Life special event. My sincere gratitude to all of you who are here this morning with us. And my co-host is Dr. Usha Thakkar. Dr. Thakkarji has contributed a lot of his time, his knowledge, his wisdom for us in various series joining with me here in this Organic Mind forum and platform. So Dr. Thakkarji, my heartfelt gratitude and thankfulness to you for bringing such knowledge and wisdom to our community and sharing with us. And this is almost like we will be doing a lot of churning behind the scene. And once we get the butter, as a mother, we are coming, running towards you to give you that essence, the butter to you. And that's what exactly Dr. Thakkarji also doing. The preparation for the program takes more than a month, and research and settle down and talking through validation, confirmation, affirmation. All those things are over. And once we get the butter, we are bringing that to you. So thank you, Ji, so much, and all the Organic Mind groups here who worked on this program as well. We kind of get together sometimes and then talk about this, how we can do this and all those things. So thank you, every one of you who are part and parcel of this Upavasa. So let's start today. We'll be talking about Upavasa, the spirituality behind it by me, and then Dr. Thakkarji will share his wisdom and knowledge on the philosophy, physiology, and the physicality of fasting. So the clarity happens. And I see that his content this time as a valid points and take home points, and all those things are embedded within it. So your Shraddha, your concentration, if you are doing a multitasking, you are going to Costco and watching this also may help, but not quite help you. But if you put your Shraddha, your concentrated focus on this content, not just the information, but the content contains, the truthfulness behind it, your understanding, your assimilation, your concentration, your absorption, everything matters here. If we can give you the butter, but if you are not taking that, or if you are not assimilating properly, then what is the use? And of course, there are n number of sources for the information throughout the world. Today is the information age. You go to YouTube, you go to Google, everywhere there are tons and tons of information. The missing part is who is practicing those content. That's the missing part. Everybody is forwarding. They are busy in forwarding all of the good thing to others, but none of us are practicing for ourselves. And that is the irony of today's world. Everybody would like to forward. Everybody would like to tell somebody else, oh, here is a wealth of resources. I have seen in WhatsApp, people will be forwarding the whole Bhagavad Gita in a PDF format, or this format, Bible in all the audio format, and here is a good information. But before forwarding, are we implementing this? Are we practicing this? That's the most important question. And that is why it is important for you to be here and now, to listen, to absorb, to assimilate, to understand, digest. and make it as a practice. And there is a benefit for all these things. But without practicing, you are just come here, window shopping, just to hear, oh, Shabariji, you are talking nice. Dr. Usha Kantakar is giving fantabulous content, excellent. And then if you are not practicing, then what is the use? So our aim is not to just bring this rare content and information and knowledge and wisdom to you, as well as to let you know that it's important to practice. So let us start with the spiritual aspect of fasting. Dr. Thakurji, do you want to give any intro here before I start?
No, I'm glad that you did that because you did mention the amount of information floating through the net is enormous.
Yes.
And it is better to practice what you're learning, but it is also sometimes impossible to learn so much that comes our way. Sometimes I put all kinds of information in my hold box only to realize that after a month, I just have to delete or file them for some kind of permanent things.
Absolutely.
But in today's talk, particularly fasting or Upavasa, I find it is one of the most essential aspect of health. And I did not realize it probably 10 years ago, what now I know the value of that is. So I feel that the explosion of science of fasting is so profound that there is more to learn, even for those who are physicians like me and who are out of the field of fasting. Suddenly, when I started doing research for the talk, I learned so much. So I feel that this one thing of fasting would be very valuable.
Excellent. Thank you, G. I think, as you said, we are all facing larger than life information in this age. And absorbing and assimilating all those information need multiple ears and multiple eyes. And that's why we keep on forwarding to others. But listen like carefully, like how a crane is looking for its fish and how it catches that fish at that moment. Like that, you need to be alert and aware and grasp what is important to you. If you have the art of listening, then you have the art of living. But if you don't have the right art of listening, then the art of living will not happen, because we are distracted, we are doing multiple tasks, we are looking at the phone at the same time we are shopping, we are looking at the phone at the same time we are eating, and none of them has been done 100% focused and with the fulfillment. So I request you all that let us together learn fasting here. So let me share my slide here so that when I talk through, you can see that what is the preparation here and what is the way we are going to go in this one. So let me share my screen. You all see my screen here? All right. So Upavasa, fasting, fascinating facts about fasting. So I was thinking like what the content I should bring in front of you. Should I bring all the Google it and then put that here and then bring it to you? So my focus here is I would like to see Upavasa, the fasting, through the organic mind. How to bring that perspective of Upavasa to you. So that's why I've taken the spiritual perspective of the Upavasa, and Dr. G will be talking about the physical and physiological aspect of Upavasa, which is more pragmatic and practical. And this will give you an additional addendum to what has not been told or we have not focused on fasting. So that is why I would like to take in this route of fasting here. So fasting of the body is food for the soul. Fasting is the first principles of medicines. Fast and see the strength of the spirit reveal itself. That's by Rumi. Rumi is a philosopher and awakened soul. He is talking about fasting in a beautiful way. It is the first principles of medicine. People always say, if you take food like a medicine, then you don't have to take medicine like a food. That is why fasting of the body is food for your soul. So, how much fasting, these fascinating facts about fasting can bring good health and well being to you and your near and dear, and to your family and friends and community is important. When you learn a good thing, don't stop not passing to others. Why? Because it will come back to you. It will give you a tremendous and value to your community, and then the community is you. So it is important to pass this message, pass a good thing you learn to others, to raise the community consciousness so that you will be benefited in turn. So fasting is important to get rid of the diseases. So here I would like to let you know that what is disease, and we will go from there about fasting and the fasting, physical fasting, how it is affecting the other layers of our body, which we don't give direct importance to it. All we know is the physicality of our body. We don't go beyond that. We never handle our mental layer, pranic layer, our the Vijnanamaya kosha, which is the intelligent layer, and then a blissful layer. All those things are negated. We are just give importance only to the physicality and what you can see. But what you cannot see, that is the subject I am going to take. It's a very abstract subject. I understand. Some people it's a dry subject, but for me it's more fascinating subject. That is why I would like to share some information about fasting, how that affects the invisible part of you. So what is disease, or why is disease? The disease is nothing but your diseasiness, not only to your body, but it will pervade to your mind as well. So in the human body, every moment, millions of cells perish, with new ones taking birth to replace the old ones. And that is the nature of your body. A process which requires countless nutrients for this process to happen. But adequate nutrition requires efficient assimilation. That is why your digestive system need to be efficient to assimilate the nutrition out of the food. Foods that cannot be assimilated often become toxic to the body. This is a very fundamental principle of digestion. And it is this very toxins that cause disease in the long term. So when the disease happens to the body, you may think that it's only a bodily factor, but slowly it will pervade to your mental layer also. The diseasiness happens. When the disease happens to your body, the diseasiness happens to your mind as well. When the diseasiness happens to your mind, the disease happens to your body as well. It is interconnected. Fasting is not just a ritual, but a realization. That is why we have to give a Shraddha. Shraddha in Sanskrit means focused concentration, not just concentration, focused concentration. So then it becomes a realization. You can see that every religion prescribe and practice, ask you to practice fasting. You take any religion, except a few. Most of the religion tell you to do fasting, prescribe fasting, and practice fasting. In any religion, you would have heard, your mommy, your daddy would have told you about this in those days. The fasting has to be, but they cannot explain you the way Dr. Thakkar is going to explain you in a more cellular level, or in a more physicality level, or more in a physiology level. That is why we are not convinced, and we are not taking this fasting to our heart, because mind need to be convinced before the heart to take it. That is how we structured this society in today's world. So let us get convinced from your mind to the heart, right? So why Upavasa? You may ask, what is important facts here, or fact, or the truth here? Why I have to do Upavasa? To end our lifestyle diseases. Today's world, the lifestyle diseases is more pervading than the real diseases. What is the lifestyle diseases? Because of your couch potato lifestyle, we develop a lot of diseases. Because of your own luxurious items, you create more diseases for yourself. And that is why when you get rid of all the handmade tools to cooking or for washing, for other purposes, we invited this particular diseases, lifestyle diseases. The food you intake, it's all more, superficial, it's more artificial food. It is very junk you are eating. The essence has been lost. The junk has been beautifully labeled and sold in the market. And you are fascinated more by the cover, not by the content. And that is where we welcome the diseases. And that is called a lifestyle diseases. So in order for the disease to run out from your door, you need to rearrange certain elements of your lifestyle. That is why we always, the organic mind, promote the lifestyle changes rather than something else. Just doing a meditation, just doing some yoga and put that in the Facebook is not going to improve your health. Are you having a cognitive shift inside you regarding your health? Are you adopting certain lifestyle in order to the lifestyle diseases to run away from you? And to gain physical health, and please understand there is a mental health and spiritual health along the path when you adopt Upavasa fasting. This is a great liberation from the influence of our mind. When you do fasting, it is directly proportional to your mind, which I am going to explain you in a bit. So dukkha and suffering can run away from you when you do a fasting, because it is directly interrelated. To create more meditative space, the shanti and stillness pervades inside you when you do fasting. You can yourself experiment this. See, when I am talking about this candy, this chocolate tastes good, you don't have to hallucinate. You don't have to imagine. All you have to do is buy the chocolate and put it in your mouth and experience yourself how beautiful and good and tasty it is. Same way, when we talk about Upavasa, you don't have to believe. You don't have to believe. You don't have to trust us. Do fasting and realize yourself what are all the changes are happening, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. It is a great avenue for fulfilling experiences in our journey on the planet Earth. We are here not to just eat alone. We are living, we are eating for living. We are not living for eating. Please understand, there is a quite a lot of difference there. So the body and the mind are stitched together. That is where I am going to. Fasting is generally done to purify and cleanse the body, but it is equally regenerative on the mind. That is where I am coming with my perspective. When you regenerate your body, you are regenerating your mind. Ayurveda says, when you regenerate your mind, you regenerate your body. When the body is corrupted, when the mind is corrupted, the guts bacteria corrupted, the digestive system corrupted, and then the ojas and tejas leave from the body. But when you regenerate your mind, you are regenerating the guts bacteria, you regenerating a digestive system properly, the assimilation happens properly. Now you are creating the tadus and ojas and tejas. So it goes together. They are fully and totally connected to each other. A body filled with impurities will pollute the mind. Understand? Please understand. A body filled with impurities will pollute the mind, and the imbalanced mind will naturally imbalance the body. So that is why it's more important to understand at this age, not just a physicality alone, but also the mentality and spirituality behind the scene. See, when you take a flower, it's not just a beauty alone. It has its vasana, it has its beautiful fragrance, and it has its presence. So everything put together is a flower, not just a physicality of it. Same way, you are just not a physicality alone. Your mentality, your spirituality bundled together is your presence. But we only take care of the physicality of it. We work 80, 100 years for this physicality alone. We forget about mentality, we forget about spirituality. And that is why the life is not complete. It is disintegrated. In order to integrate the life, fasting is the first track. Our body is rearranged food. I want to bring your Shraddha to this one aspect here. Whenever you take food, it becomes part and parcel of you. The food outside rearranged is your body, right? The rice in your plate become your body once you swallow it, because that is the one which is giving you the energy to your body. So the only interface we have to interact with the world is this body. So if you don't take care of the body, tell me, what is the one who is going to be a good friend? The body is the only vehicle which is coming available for your traveling in this journey. Your best car is not the vehicle, the best vehicle in the world. This is the best vehicle in the world. If you don't realize that, that is where the problem starts. People have a highest disease because of their lifestyle diseases, and they drive an extraordinary car outside. What is the use? So rearrange certain lifestyle to make this vehicle best. Put some energy, concentration, time onto this body first to have a fullest experience. So our experiences can be maximum when the body is at its best, full potential. Our body is the only vehicle available for you. And this body is the temple, portal, and the gateway for the divine experiences. This is the portal. Portal means, it's kind of an airport, a port where you go and experience the world, the divine experiences. This is only through this body, only through this nervous system. Our body is made out of the same 5 elements you all know, exactly like our world. So this is the temple you are looking for every day. This is the person you are seeking every day. This is the one you yet to meet yourself. So your body is very important to you. Food affects your thoughts. That's the next attention I want to bring. I want to create here. Your food affects your thoughts. I don't know how many of you would have experienced this, and I experience this every day in my life. And now I share with my family also, and they also started understanding and realizing that, yes, food affects our thought. What kind and type of food you are taking? What is the energy of the food? By looking at the food, I can tell you that this food has energy or not, because you can see the aura of the food right there. And how do we cook? How important is cooking is. Today's world, cooking has been given a frozen story to it, right? Everything is frozen. Take it, put it in the microwave, heat it, and have it. That is the only one bad habit and bad lifestyle we adopted because of modern equipments, like a microwave and a freezer. I always say, why you are getting up late? Because you have a freezer or you have a refrigerator at home. Look at the nature. Look at the birds and animals. They get up early because they don't have a refrigerator. Nobody brought milk and stored in the refrigerator. So next day morning, you know that the milk is available. The remove refrigerator out of this whole humanity, maybe the human being will have a better health. It's just a thought. So what is the energy of the food? How do we cook? And what environment is the food cooked and served? It matters. And how do we cook the food is matters. I'm not saying that you have to put this extraordinary bhajans or something and then always be in this divine presence or whatever you think it is a divine. I'm not saying all those things. But cook with Shraddha, with your awareness and consciousness, so that you do not put unwanted things into the cooking. That is called how do we cook? Cook with passion, not hatredness. If you cook with the hatredness and feed your husband or wife with that, then what will come out of it? Obviously, the food rearranged is your body. So if you cook the food with the anger and feed the person with that food, then the anger come out, the frustration come out. So cook food in a better way. So how and when and where we eat the food. Why I'm bringing eating food while we are talking about fasting is the food affects our thoughts. That means food has a correlation with your thought process. So I myself tell you my own experience of when I eat certain food, certain type of dreams happens. I always wondered this phenomena. Why this dream came? I never gone to this place. I never have this experience before in my life. This kind of a dream is very, very different and unique. And what happened? What I eat last night? That's my first question. I can clearly say that this kind of a food I eat, this kind of a dream is coming. Again, I am bringing this to you not from the Google so that you can go and search and find out, hey, is this easy talking sensible or not? I want to give you a value addition here through the organic mind. With my own experience, I am putting it out there. You go and experiment yourself and see, contemplate and see whether it is right or wrong for you. That is why I'm bringing a new ideas here, like food is bringing different type of emotions, different type of thoughts, different type of dreams in your life. So the realization here is, that's why I'm bringing body and the mind. The realization is meditation and fasting go hand in hand. That's where I want to bring the core realization here is the meditation and fasting go hand in hand. Your fasting has a tremendous effect on your meditation too. What is the commonality here? What is the commonality between fasting, meditation, pranayama, awakening, spiritual progress, and so on and so forth? What is it? So that is why I'm saying this is not dwelled in the or seek or search in the Google, but I am bringing a unique commonality. I want you to contemplate on it, think about it, see that whether it is true or not. That all the commonality here is we are going against the nature of the mind. That is the commonality I am talking about. Going beyond the prakriti of our mind, the nature of the mind. Why I am saying nature of the mind? The mind is not your brain. The mind is not your intelligent component. The mind is a samskara. Samskara means the engrams, the past experiences which has not been assimilated properly and sitting as a clutter in your inner space, as a judgmental in your inner space, as a something which is a past memory of graveyard, which is often influence your present. That is what I call it as a mind. In my world of the organic mind, I would say the mind is nothing but your protective mechanism of your body. Like how every other creature has a protective mechanism, the mind is a protective mechanism for the human being. Please give it a thought here. Think about it. So why I said commonality in fasting, meditation, everything is mind. The root cause of the problem is mind. When you remove mind out of the equation, your life will be absolutely normal and regular and wonderful. But the caveat here is you cannot remove the mind, which is the protective mechanism of your body. That is where we got stuck. How to eradicate mind without losing your protective mechanism. This is the art of living. I'm not representing any other organization, but I'm saying in generally, this is the art of living. How to make that mind in a neutral space rather than swinging to the past or to the future. So the prakriti of the mind, the nature of the mind, the protective nature of the mind is the commonality here when you do fasting, meditation, pranayama, awakening, what we do here, the commonality is going beyond mind. See, it's funny that when you think about it, fasting, what we do, stop eating. Our natural tendency is eating, isn't it? We are going beyond our natural tendency. The mind will not allow you to go for fasting at all, because the natural tendency, inclination of the mind is eating. It says that, oh, without eating, I will be dying. The mind is dependent on the body. So mind encourage the body to eat. That is why fasting going against the nature, but it's going against the mind. That is the fasting. Meditation means what? Our natural tendency is thinking. Always think. Tell me one time you are not thinking. But meditation is stopping thinking. Stop your thought. Cessation of your mind is yoga. Going away from the natural tendency of thinking. That is called meditation. So it's all opposite to our natural tendency. Natural means the mind tendency. The pranayama means stopping breathing for a while. That's why Kumbhagam is more famous, right? Stopping breath, stopping your breathing for a while. Take inhale, hold, and then exhale. That holding is against the will, against the nature of the mind. The natural pattern is breathing. And if you say awakening means, what is the awakened one means? Transcendenting our mind. The influence of the mind has been transcendented. That is called awakening. What does that mean? That means your natural tendency of the mind has been surpassed, has been transcendented. The natural behavior is actively engaging your mind is the natural behavior. That is why I am seeing the commonality among all these things are mind. And that is why when you look at the religions, how beautifully they see today's religion. I don't want to give my perspective on that, but today's religion little bit not concentrating on the core principle of the spiritual nature of it, but religion itself is fantastic because they created certain rituals, certain procedures and process for you to easily follow in your social life. So for an example, fasting. You might have heard from your family members, your mom and dad, whoever it is, your grandparents, they'll be doing fasting. And that is an integral part of their life. But they do not know what is the reason behind of the fasting. When you do fasting, and they will say, all the spiritual recommendation is fasting. When you do fasting, you add reading Bible, reading Quran, reading Bhagavad Gita, chanting mantra, japas, or contemplation, thinking about the divine. All those things are recommended because it goes hand in hand. That is why when you do fasting, you are rejuvenating your life. You're rejuvenating your body. You're rejuvenating the inner consciousness, inner space, so that the outer space is getting purified. That is why if anybody have a discipline of fasting in their life, in their home, you can see that the home will progress in a beautiful way, because you're reducing the number of thoughts happening in your home tremendously low, so that the energy is going high. So fasting directly gives us an opportunity to cleanse our body, mind, and spirit. I would say it is a direct technique for enlightenment. You might have heard that stories of rishis and even asuras, the bad guys, go for tabas. Tabas means penance. Penance is the highest form of awakening your godliness. That's why when they go for a tabas, the penance, after 20 years, no food, nothing, God appears in front of them. They will ask for a boon, God will grant it. That's a story we heard when we are in childhood, right? There is a truth in it. That's not God is physically going to appear. Maybe he is going to physically appear also when you go to that extent of fasting, but I'm not recommending that right now. It is a direct technique for enlightenment. That means fasting as one of the shortest way to quieten your inner chatter. Therefore, your inner divinity will appear. Your inner divinity will be more dominant than your inner chatter. That is called enlightenment. That's why I'm saying it's a direct technique for enlightenment. Physicality of spirituality is fasting. Pragmatic approach to our inner journey. You don't require no tool, no teaching, no gurus, nothing is required. Fasting, if you implement in the right direction and right proportion, along with your spiritual quest, will give you the path for liberation. That is why I'm calling this as a fast track and fast technique for awakening. So what is the best time for fasting? In my world, I would say when the body is able and the mind is willing, a fasting happens. See, in all the four I mentioned, fasting, meditation, pranayama, awakening, all these things is going beyond mind through your willpower. Your willpower override your mind. That is what is exactly happening. So your mind is willing, the fasting happens. But the mind is not willing, that is where the fasting is going to be difficult. Maybe your body shows little bit of tantrum, but your mind shows extraordinary tantrum, so we drop the fasting. So aware your body and mind. The spiritual benefits here, it cleanses your guts and remove toxins. It's called Deha Shuddhi. And it cleanses our 5 elements. Bhuta Shuddhi happens. A technical term. Bhuta Shuddhi is a technical term. Deha Shuddhi is a technical Sanskrit term. It cleanses all the 5 elements in our body. And it cleanses our inner clutter and chatter. It's called Mano Shuddhi. The Mano Shuddhi also happens. If anybody is fasting continuously and they are in part of that, they can feel that that day they are very more calm and quiet, not much worry syndrome. There is not much anger syndrome. There is no natural mind syndromes happens. That why? Because it is directly affect your thought process. And feeling oneness with our being, that's called Ahashuddhi. When the fasting happens, that is where they say, religious people say, do the fasting and do the japa. Japa means reciting mantra silently. It's called japa. Or chanting mantra loudly. It's also combination of fasting and this. Or fasting for Shiva, fasting for certain deity, fasting for something. Or when you are fasting, donate something to others. So all the divine aspect to be added, has to be added to feel the oneness with the being. That's called Ahashuddhi. And then the clarity of expression happens. Vakusiddhi and Vakshuddhi happens. That is not that easy to get the Vakushuddhi. What you talk, what you walk, what you think. That Shuddhi will never happen unless the impurity has been removed both physically and mentally in all layers of your life. So my last slide here is, before I move on to other thing, fasting combined with the Atma Vichar, fasting combined with the self-inquiry or other spiritual technique can liberate us from our usual imprints. When I say fasting combined with the Atma Vichara, what is that meaning? Just do fasting alone is okay, but if you combine with Atma Vichara, combine with the japa, combine with a certain reading Bible, reading Quran, reading Bhagavad Gita, understanding. So when your body is not fed with regular food, you are in a fasting mode, you are chatting, inner chattering, inner voice will be reduced, so that when you read Bible or Quran or Bhagavad Gita, you understand the meaning as it is. There is an opportunity to understand that. There is no interference of your mind at that point in time. That is why they combine these two to get the fullest result. That is why we are dedicating fasting to some deity, some God, thinking that good thing will happen. I am going to dedicate this fasting to Lakshmi. Lakshmi means receiving money to our home, wellness to our home. When you have that initiation along with the fasting, now you are opening a space within you to receive that Lakshmi into your home. This is the true technical details behind it. But in the spiritual, in the religious side, they won't tell you the technical details. They will give you the rituals to do it. Because the more I explain you the technical detail, you lose interest. You are more interested in about my information, not doing it. That is why they keep the technical details for themselves. So when you do fasting, combined with Atma Vijara, self-inquiry, with the other spiritual technique, any technique you may adopt, which liberate you from vasana, the karmic imprint, samskara, the mental imprints, karma, the incompletion, the leftovers can be evaporated, and then samsara, the karmic recycle also can be. See, these are all more technical terms which need maybe another 30 minutes to spend and elaborate on what is vasana, what is samskara, what is karma, what is samsara. All these mental imprints, karmic recycle can be reduced, can be evaporated, and you can get a fullest experience on the planet Earth, not only bodily wise, but also mentally and spiritually. So that is what I want to give you as an essence of fasting. So I never touch the physicality and the philosophy, or sorry, physiology of it. That is where Dr. Thakkar will open our eyes on those terms. So I just want to spend a few more minutes to let you all know what we do in the organic mind. Most of you are attending our programs. You all know what we are doing. Just want to give you just a 2 minutes update on what is the organic mind does. We do have diet. It's not fasting. It's not physical fasting. Diet is just a name of our program. D for discover your inner dimension. That is our level 1 program. Ashtanga Yoga, we teach you. We introduce you Yogasana, Pranayama, meditation, the ancient technique to quieten your mind and body, or purify your body and purify your mind. Once you take that, I would recommend you to come for our inner journey program, the I program, which is our Thursday program. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. it runs. We will be teaching 3 components, which is pranayama, meditation, and contemplation. The Atma Vijara has been kindled or rekindled in you on a weekly basis, so that it's kind of a, come back and then be in the satsang, be in that presence, and charge your battery and go back to your social life. So every week you come and participate in the inner journey. Then once you are ready, you will be graduated to Empower program, which is our level 2 program, 2-day program. Empower your inner divinity. After that also, we recommend you to come for inner journey for a couple more years. It's not a shortcut, but it is a process. It works, and it is working. And then the last one is our level 3 program called Transform. So diet is our part and parcel of the organic mind. And I have a website, theorganicmind.com. I am the founder, and there are a lot of good soul are with me for volunteering. And that's how we are able to reach out to you all through this program. And I take this opportunity to thank every one of them. And Rupaji, Rajesh, and Dr. Thakkarji, especially for the Upavasa program. Naresh ji, we are all got together, thought about the program. We did some kind of a recording, but it didn't really work out. So I'm not showing that today. So with that, I end my presentation. And any question on whatever I have spoken, please note it down and put it in the chat. We will take at the end of our session after Dr. Thakkar ji complete his presentation. All right. Thank you. And I will now give the stage to Dr. Thakkar ji. I am going to, shall I proceed with your talk, transferring that, Ji? You ready?
Yes, Sabri. Go ahead.
Okay. So give me a minute here. I'm going to do that?
While you're doing that, I just want everybody to know that from my home, my internet connection is so sketchy that I record my presentation, I hand it over to Sabriji, who projects it from wherever he is located, where the internet connection is better. That way, during the presentation, there are no interruptions.
Yes.
But I am available to you. If you have any questions, you can interrupt or you can ask at the end of the program.
Excellent.
So go ahead, Sabriji.
Yes. You all see the screen? I'm going to make it.
Namaste, everyone. I'm Dr. Ushaka Tucker, and I'll be speaking regarding fasting in my today's lecture. I want to thank Sabriji and Organic Mind for inviting me to give this talk. My topic today is actually very common issues of discussion. Fasting, or we call it Upavasa, is a significant element for people's health. As I've stated before, the 4 pillars of health are nutrition, exercise, sleep, and grace. In nutrition, eating and avoiding eating are both essential, and we will talk about it as we go further. The Tibetan proverb says, the secret to living well and longer is eating half, walking double, laugh triple, and love without measure. See, eating half is so essential, it is the first thing they mention. So in today's talk, we'll be talking about fasting as a proven method for longevity. We will discuss nutrition in general. We'll talk about history of fasting, what the different traditions in the world talk about fasting, the scientific basis of fasting, do's and don'ts, risk of fasting, and we'll conclude with the question and answers. I always want to start with yoga because Ashtanga yoga is a complete knowledge. Yoga was first time mentioned in Rig Veda thousands of years ago, codified by Patanjali in Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. We know the essence of yoga is union with divinity. Vedanta focuses on Ashtanga yoga with Samadhi as the goal. Shaivism focuses on Kundalini yoga with Siddhi as the goal. And fasting is an essential component of Yama in Ashtanga yoga. You have seen this slide before. There are many kinds of yoga. Our focus is going to be on the fasting aspect in Ashtanga yoga. To achieve ultimate goal of Samadhi, one needs to be ethically pure, mentally stable, physically in the best possible state, well adjusted in the environment, and could allocate time for concentration and focus, ultimately leading to Samadhi. But the two components here, ethics and physical health, are helped by fasting, and you will see this as we go further. Yama means restraint. And restraint of what? Restraint of the basic impulses. The most basic impulses of our lives are breathing, eating, eliminating waste, sleeping, and procreating. Fasting strengthens the control of one of the most basic impulses, eating, and thereby helps develop yama, or the practice of restraint. Human appeared on the earth about 2.5 billion years ago and lived a hunter-gatherer, eating only when they got a hunt, and that was generally every 2 to 3 days. In between, they ate fruits, edible plants. So their eating was mainly every 2 to 3 days. So it was that they were principally fasting. And then when they got the food, they would enjoy it. So it is called the fast and feast. Then 12,000 years ago, humans developed the farming habits. And that created eating once a day, generally in the evening. So one would do a day's worth of work in the farm and have a dinner in the evening. Then the Industrial Revolution came several hundred years ago, and a flour mill was made. And that is when the scourge of obesity began. A healthy diet is a diet that helps maintain or improves overall health by providing the body with essential nutrition consisting of fluids, macronutrients like fats and protein, micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, and adequate food energy. It contains fruits, vegetables, whole grain, and may include variety of plant-based and animal-based food. Non-plant source of vitamin B12 is needed if one is vegan, as no vitamin B12 is available from plant sources. We also need to minimize the processed and sweetened food. US Department of Health used to have a pyramid, if you remember, the food pyramid, is now changed to what is called My Plate for ease of understanding. And if you look at this slide, it shows you that in this plate there is fruits, which is about 10%, protein, it will be 20%, vegetables 40%, and grains 30%. And then there is some dairy, and the fruits will provide you with vitamins and minerals. The food also needs to be colorful. And in India, on the occasion of Holi, they created this wonderful slide that shows eat more colors. Basically, we all now know that colorful food is full of antioxidant and it is very helpful to the body. But that does not mean any colorful food. Otherwise, M&M will be the healthiest food. In summary, USDA recommended that there should be enough calories, there should be unprocessed food, particularly it should contain whole grain, legumes, non-starchy vegetables, fruits with multiple colors, recommending limiting consumption of sugary drinks, limiting energy-rich foods, including fast food and red meat, and avoiding processed meats. Children consume less than 25 grams of added sugar per USDA, and no extra sugar should be added to a child who is less than 2 years age. And for children, particularly, less than one soft drink per week. So now coming to fasting. Fasting is the willful refraining from eating for a period of time. A person is assumed to be fasting once 12 hours have elapsed since the last meal. Metabolic changes of the fasting state begins after absorption of the food, which is 3 to 5 hours. The first thing that happens is that the glucose levels off and then starts to drop off. And then the glucose is maintained in the blood by extracting it from glycogen, which is stored in liver and muscles. Excuse me. The next very important thing that happens is Insulin production reduces and then stops. So as your sugar level drops, the insulin drops and then completely stops. And it is a most important step before body can start burning fat for the source of energy. And when the fat is burned, fatty acids and triglycerides are removed. These fatty acids go to liver and create energy in the form of ketone. You know, the scientists don't like to use fasting because there is a spiritual overtone to that. So they call it calorie restrictions. Basically, it is the same thing. Calorie restriction is a dietary regimen that reduces food intake without incurring malnourishment. That's very important. You know, we don't want to fast to the point that our body's essential needs are affected. And at least from the science perspective, they are recommending for weight control. But I have learned, and most of us know, that there are many more benefits to fasting. Other benefits of calorie restrictions are delayed effect of aging, and we'll discuss this further. It lowers the fasting blood sugar and delays diabetes or avoids it. It also preserves stem cell function and promotes muscle growth. In other words, calorie restriction places the body in a diversity state and therefore teaches it to survive adversity. Most of you have done some fasting in relation to some medical test. Or if you had a surgery, then they would ask you not to eat because during anesthesia you could vomit and create aspiration. If you're doing a blood cholesterol test or sugar test, they also ask you to fast. And generally, it's a 12-hour fasting. But many people have misconceptions about fasting. So let me ask you, which statement below is verified by science? Fasting helps me find a good-looking spouse. Fasting makes my Ishta Devata happy. If I fast, Aishwarya Rai or Hrithik Roshan or another handsome or beautiful person will fall in love with me. I think this is true. Just kidding. Fasting has no dangers. All of these are not proven by science. The only thing that has been proven by science is that fasting will help you live longer. But fasting also affects the businesses. Why is it that normal diet is 3 times a meal plus additional snacking? Is this evidence-based? And my answer is not at all. The evidence is pointing towards intermittent fasting as part of the healthier eating habit. But the food industry does not like that because when you don't eat, you don't buy their product. It doesn't benefit them. And so you have to be mindful of the advertisement you see and think about it before you follow. Most of the Indians may have heard about fasting from Gandhiji. Mohandas Gandhi, our India's sage, undertook several long fasting as a political and a social protest, and that affected British Raj and was contributory factor for India's independence. But fasting was also used in Northern Ireland in 1981 by Bobby Sands, who was trying to improve the prison conditions in Ireland. But the interesting part was several other people also fasted during that time. Even though Bobby Sands died of fasting after 66 days of not eating, but 10 other people survived anywhere from 46 to 73 days without food. In America, Cesar Chavez also undertook fasting for improvement in the condition of the farmers' rights. Various traditions, religious traditions also promote fasting, almost all of them. The only one that I came across was in Sikhism, no fasting is recommended. But fasting is big in Hinduism. Hindus will fast for a drop of a hat. They do Ekadashi fasting, Purnima fasting. They fast on Monday for Shiva, on Tuesday for Shakti, Thursday for Vishnu, Saturday for Ayappa. Many people do Shravan Mas, the 5th month, as a fasting too. Partly because in Mahabharata, Yudhishthira asked Bhishma, what constitutes the highest penance? And the Bhishma answers, there is no penance that is superior to abstinence from food. I remember fasting when I see this sabudana khichdi. I loved it, and I used to wait for the fasting in my house on Ekadashi. Not because I was going to fast, but I was going to get this food. This is one of my favorite foods. But this is no fasting. Do you know the sabudana is all starch? It's like fasting with sugar only. So, what is the science behind fasting? There is a word that you will hear today called autophagy. It's not a very common word, but it was this topic that caused a Nobel Prize to happen in 2016. Autophagy is a natural process by which the body does house cleaning by recycling damaged cells and rejuvenating old cells. Basically, body tries to eat itself, and therefore during fasting, we lose weight. Autophagy begins in the body when you have fasted for 18 hours. As I mentioned earlier, in 2016, Dr. Oasumi from Japan received a Nobel Prize for that. The autophagy word comes from auto means self, phagy means to eat in Greece. Chemical process of autophagy also stimulates growth of stem cells and growth hormone. And this mechanism is the reason why aging is delayed by fasting. The first paper on the calorie restrictions was published in the Western Medical Journal in 1935, where they showed that fasting helps longevity. But the most comprehensive study that lasted over 20 years showed amazing results. There was a 3-fold reduction in the age-related diseases. Do you know just 20% reduction of calories for 2 to 6 years can reduce the blood pressure and sometimes eliminate the need for medications, reduce blood sugar, blood cholesterol, control weight. Do you know that if a young person starts fasting at the age of 20, his life will be prolonged by 20 years? There is nothing that has come so close to it. The benefits of fasting are many, but the emotional benefits are it improves the alertness and a sense of well-being. It is one of the best for brain. It reduces excitation, increases the production of neurotropic hormone that helps the brain to rewire and grow. Obviously, it reduces weight. It also increases nitric oxide, a very important chemical that helps the circulation. Fasting is also anti-inflammatory. As I mentioned earlier, it is the best method for longevity. So how do we fast? I have 2 techniques. I'm going to show you my favorite technique first, technique 1. So if you are not had a fasting experience, I would recommend this way, that as a newcomer, you just skip the breakfast in the beginning. Once you are able to do it easily, then you can skip both breakfast and lunch. Make sure you don't make up for the calories in dinner. Make sure you eat only between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. always drink plenty of water. Then gradually advance to total fast for 24 hours. The ideal method is number 2 and number 6. So what I mean by that is you fast every Monday, half a day, and then one Monday a month of full 24 hours fasting. If you do that, your life will dramatically change. The other technique is you fast 2 days out of 5 days, but on the 2 days that you don't eat, let's say third and the fifth day, you do eat only 25% of the food. Make sure you consume plenty of water. This is the second method of doing it. The precautions are, particularly if you have medical problems, consult with your doctors. If you're pregnant, make sure you talk to your obstetrician. But you need to know about refeeding syndrome. Refeeding syndrome is if you have fasted for a long time and then you suddenly start eating and you go extreme eating rather than go slow, your body could suffer a shock. Actually, suddenly your body tissue starts to build up, and in the process of building, your blood potassium, magnesium, and phosphorus drops, which can be dangerous, can produce irregular heart, and very rarely can cause death. So if you have fasted for 3 to 4 days, when you start eating again, start very easy, take 2 days to come to full meal. Another fad of fasting is people are told that if you fast, not only your body will suffer, but your cancer will suffer. And you will cure your cancer or cure your disease like syphilis and tuberculosis. This used to be practiced with the help of Mr. Sinclair in 1911. But subsequently, we did find out it is dangerous. Steve Jobs tried it on himself, and he realized it was a mistake, and it did affect him negatively. So in conclusion, a well-done fasting practice is the best way to extend quality and quantity of life. For quality, it improves mood, slows aging-related diseases, and reduces chances of cancer. For quantity of life, nothing comes closer to a well-done fasting as a part of lifestyle. Make sure you consult with your doctor, and more so if you have a medical problem. Happy fasting. Thank you very much. At the end of the session, we will take questions and answers.
Thank you, Dr. Thakurji. You want to say something after your talk, and then we will take after that question answers. We have enough time this time.
Yes, I wanted to briefly mention about the technique of fasting that I mentioned, where you fast on all Mondays, half a day, and once a month, 24 hours fast. What is valuable is the duration where nothing goes into your stomach. So therefore, I recommended that the fasting should be between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. What I'm trying to say is that for the remaining 7 times, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., do not eat or snack, because we are looking for your blood sugars to drop and your insulin to completely stop production so that your blood level of insulin goes away. And it is at that time the benefit begins. And the biggest benefit of fasting happens when the insulin stops. One of the benefits is that new stem cells are produced. And the second benefit is that the growth hormone is produced during the time when there is no insulin. And it is the growth hormone and the new stem cells that is the one that keeps you young and keeps you healthy. So the key component is that at least 12 hours a day, there is nothing going into your mouth. So you can eat fairly well 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but then after the last meal, don't take a little orange juice at 10 o'clock at night, or a scoop of ice cream at 2 o'clock in the morning, or maybe a toast at 4 o'clock in the morning. That defeats the whole purpose. So not eating anything at all for 12 hours is the most important component of fasting. And if you do that, you will start to see the benefit. Second aspect is that it's only when the insulin level becomes zero that we start to burn the fat. So if you are doing fasting to lose weight, you're not going to lose fat from your body if your insulin level is still present. So if you eat sugar, insulin will come up, and that will defeat the purpose of fasting. So if you are particularly looking to lose fat, you need at least 12 hours of no calories going into your mouth. These are the two important aspects I wanted to emphasize.
Thank you. There are some questions coming here. So let me read, and you can answer if that is something you can answer here. So please brief us on hydration water intake.
I hear that, yes. It is true that you need to drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. Water is the only way our body exchanges the poisons coming out of the cells that are used up and the energy going into the cell. Also, that's the way the toxins are removed into the urine. So lots of water allows refreshing of your body fluids. So it is very important that you drink lots and lots of water. And I would say that a good amount would be an 8-ounce glass, 8 of them in 24 hours. The next question is, how about drinking black tea or coffee during the fasting period?
Before that, there is one more question. Somebody put that. Question about intermittent fasting popularity nowadays, 14 or 16 hours.
I completely agree with it. In my remarks, I stated 12 hours of no calories going into your mouth. That is what they are talking about. So you need to have 12 hours of period minimum. Longer you go, 14 to 16 hours is good. In my slide, I mentioned autophagy, where your body starts to melt, actually starts at 18 hours. So it is extremely valuable to have this period of 12 hours where nothing goes into your mouth, and that is called intermittent fasting.
And that is why you recommended that skip the breakfast to start with. So if you eat like a previous night, 6 p.m., your dinner, then fast over and then skip the breakfast. And then at the lunchtime, slowly introduce smoothie or any fruits or, light food that will help you for like almost like cross over that 14 hours, right?
Right. So I recommend that you eat every day your breakfast, except if you want to follow a intermittent fasting regimen. My recommendation is that every Monday or once a week, you don't eat for 12 hours. And then you eat the light meal and then sleep. And once a month, avoid the food for 24 hours. This is the ideal way. It is difficult in the beginning to do it, but once you start avoiding food and appreciating the benefit, you will be enormously rewarded. So Monday, half a day not eating, and on once a month, Monday, 24 hours no eating.
Got it.
So let me come back to this question about coffee and
that's the next question.
black tea. Black tea is basically mainly it's the water component that we are talking about. So yes, during fasting, you can have black tea as long as you don't put sugar. You're okay to eat, okay to have coffee or tea during that time. Coffee, I don't prefer particularly because it also can raise your heart rate. And some people who are fasting, and if they have a tendency towards diabetes, coffee can cause a little bit of irregularity of your heart. But otherwise, coffee is not a problem when you are fasting.
The next question is related to that, asking like fasting, does it mean even not a cup of tea with 1 or 2 spoon of milk?
Right. So, milk also has sugar, and milk also has a little bit of fat. So, when I recommend fasting, I really want no sugar to go into your body. So, no. So, my answer is the best way would be to avoid it. But suppose if you must have it, you can get to that extent little less benefit than you would otherwise get.
The next one is, how can you find out if you are insulin resistant?
Uh, so let us understand what insulin resistance is. Normally, when you eat sugar, your pancreas produces insulin. Insulin takes this sugar that you have produced and pushes it into the cells for the use as energy source. But if you are sedentary, or if you have had a minimal activity, the effect of insulin pushing the sugar into the muscles for consumption for energy goes down. Then the sugar level goes up, and we call it diabetes. So in type 2 diabetes, which is what we are talking about in relation to fasting, uh, we are not insulin deficient. We actually have excess of insulin. And that is because the insulin that we produce is not effective. So body thinks that we need more insulin. So body produces more insulin, and more insulin is more trouble. Insulin does one thing. If the cells don't take the sugar, it pushes into the fat cells. So the fat cells get bigger. So our body fat increases when you have not done exercise and your body has a lot of insulin. So that is what insulin resistance is. When you are fasting, you are completely bringing your insulin level down to zero. It is that intermittent insulin reduction reduces the insulin resistance and allows your muscles to optimally utilize the benefit of insulin.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, what exactly happens in autophagy?
The name autophagy itself tells us what it means. Auto means self, phagy means eating. What we are doing is when you don't eat anything from outside, but body needs to continue to survive, body takes away the breakdown product of your tissues and reuses it. So as a matter of fact, what you are doing is, let's say old cells in the muscles uh, are broken down, and that becomes a source of your protein. So rather than eating a meat from outside, you ate your own muscles. So that is called autophagy. And autophagy is essential to relieve the insulin resistance. What basically I'm trying to tell you is that by not eating for a period of time, you are creating this mechanism of recycling of your body intact. And that habit is beneficial for long-term health and longevity.
Fantastic. The next question is, I have also heard, have a breakfast like a king, lunch like a rich guy, and then dinner like a beggar. In some sense, they say breakfast, lunch are okay, dinners are problem. Is it true?
Uh, no, the important part is not breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The important part is cycle of 12 hours of not eating and 12 hours of eating. For example, I don't take breakfast and I have light lunch and I have fairly heavy dinner on the days I eat well. And I find it to be most suitable for me. So, in my view, it doesn't matter which is your main meal. As long as you allow yourself 12 hours of no food, you can mix it up.
So that proverb is need to be rethinkable. So the next question is, can you have a dairy in intermittent fasting? Dairy foods.
You can have anything you want. More you have it, less is the success. So you need to weigh it. Let's say if you are very used to having intermittent dairy, then you can have it in the beginning with an ultimate goal of avoiding it. Because dairy consists of fat and it has the sugar too. The milk sugar, lactose, is present in the dairy. And so, whether you eat sugar or whether you eat lactose, which is in the milk, you are getting sugar from the dairy.
And we are talking about fasting. We are not talking about something to what the best nutrient for our food. After fasting, you can take the best nutritions for the better assimilation, right? Fasting,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. So I did mention before I went into fasting, I talked about nutrition because if you have eaten well, then the benefit of fasting is optimal. But suppose during the time when you can eat, if your diet is very poor and the elements that you are eating does not fulfill your daily requirement, then you are missing out on important nutrients.
Correct.
So eat well, and therefore in my fasting talk, you saw the first half was about healthy diet.
Thank you. The next question is few more to go, Dr. G. You are bombarded with the questions. So are you ready for the next one?
Of
Yes.
course.
When fasting, do you also cut your calories? So I am practicing two meal. Each meal contains of 4 ounces of vegetable and 4 ounces of veggies. In this, is this a healthy thing to do? So she mentioned 4 ounces of veg and 4 ounces of veggies. I don't know what does that mean, but is that a healthy things to do?
Well, if you look at my plate, the diagram of my plate, and you can actually go to myplate.gov, and it will give you a wonderful picture of what your meals should be. It
Right.
should be a combination of the balance of carbohydrate, fat, protein, and vitamins and minerals, colorful fruit. Uh, as long as you take all of them in the appropriate amount, as mentioned in my plate, I think you will be fine.
Correct. So the next one is, so because of autophagy, are you losing muscle mass?
Uh, you may only be using muscle mass by uh, by only using your own broken down muscles, but you're not losing a muscle mass of a healthy tissue. Before you lose muscle mass, you are losing fat. So autophagy is not harmful. As a matter of fact, it is when you fast that you produce maximum growth hormone. Uh, you may know that growth hormone is one of the most expensive medicine available. It is not approved by FDA for people to take because it has its side effect. But it is a very useful chemical. Our brain produces it for our body. The only other way to get the maximum benefit of growth hormone is fasting. Because during fasting, you develop production of growth hormone, which in turn helps your muscles. So suppose if you are into bodybuilding, you want a muscular body, my recommendation would be that you do your nightly fasting and then you do your exercise. So when you do your exercise in the morning, you go to your gym and you take your weightlifting and so on, you are going to get the maximum benefit while your body has circulating growth hormone. So if you want to build your muscles, 12 hours of fasting followed by exercise and then start with your meal.
So I'm autophagy. I mean, I'm in the computer science world. In computer, especially in the application side of it, we call something called garbage collectors, which means once the resources are relieved from the processing, there is a garbage collection program goes and collect all the disconnected resources. It releases some of the connection and all those things. So it releases memories to back to the computer. So the process called garbage collection. So I'm thinking autophagy collects only unwanted stuff from the body, the inner system, and leave alone the good thing there, which is in continuous.
Right. That is true. You know, our body is like a home, or our body is like a business or an industry. It's a big machine. So if there's a big, giant business, if there are no housekeepers who are going to take away your trash periodically, after 3 to 4 days, you know, you will be absolutely stuffed with all the trash. Same in our body also, there is a regular mechanism of eliminating the trash. And autophagy, to some extent, is actually eliminating the broken tissues. As you know, our body is continuously breaking and making. Since we don't have spare parts, because we are continuously remaking. For example, suppose if you're driving a car and your car, while it is in the garage, it is improving your tire. What is it doing? It's actually repairing itself. Therefore, our body can go on for 100 years without replacement of the part, while your car has to have a tire replacement every 36 months.
That's correct. And I also, you mentioned about the hunter and gather group when we started, age old that time. The natural fasting was the part of the life, so that the fast and feast was kind of interrelated. But in today's world, if you go for a party, already you will have a food at home, and in the party you go and have more food, and then this fasting is not a part of the culture. So the lifestyle is what is introducing a kind of a diseases nowadays. We eat whether we are hungry or not. I went to one party and then they offered me food and I told them I'm not hungry right now. They are really offended. They say that, okay, this is not what we usually hear, because we eat whether we are hungry or not all the time. We don't listen to our body, because as you said, farming happens and people go work in the farming industry, farming land, and they work all the day and then they will have a good meal at the night. But when the industrial revolution happens, and there comes the business mind, and how do I sell more and how do I make more profit comes into the picture, the whole lifestyle has been gone out. And now we are looking for best product in the cover. If the lady is beautiful in the cover, I'm going to buy it, right? Whether the product is bad.
Well, I don't blame human being. Imagine millions of years, you could only eat every 2 or 3 days. So when the first time food becomes available, naturally, you want to eat more. So when we started to do the farming, then we started to eat once a day. Partly because we had a lot of work to do. Then when the automation came, we even got a time. So then we started eating twice a day, and then we started to make delicious food. And then once your tongue is addicted to it and your brain is addicted to it, then that food becomes a fad, and then it goes on. So in the scheme of things, our body is genetically made for 3 million years we have been trained to not eat. And then suddenly for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, you start to eat more. So what human being is going through is a natural evolutionary cycle. And then the knowledge comes. And then somebody like Dr. Tucker comes and tells you, my God, we are doing something wrong. So basically, it's a cyclic process of learning. So we were deprived of food. We went crazy about food. Now we learned it's wrong. So now we are learning to readjust ourselves. So that is a normal process. And I think we all need to uh, enjoy when we did now. And now we know that there was a mistake. So we need to recorrect.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct, actually. And also, please, those who are learning this art of fasting and art of living, please spread your joy with your near and dear, and bring them to the consciousness and awareness of this. And most of the diseases must run away from you when you implement this lifestyle changes. I think one more person was saying that you just answered as such. I am confirming, I guess, and autophagy consumes fat cells first and then goes to muscles mass. Correct?
That is correct.
I mean, fasting helps getting rid of excess fat first and not causing your hard earned muscle for most of us. That
That
is,
is correct.
that is correct.
As a matter of fact, if you fast and exercise, you are going to make better muscles than if you had not fasted.
One more question arrived, which is about what about monk fruit or stevia?
Uh, that brings me to the topic of sugar. Because what we are trying to do is we are trying to find sweetness without sugar. And you know how the history of sugar is about 1600 years ago. Sugarcane was found to be growing in Borneo island of Indonesia. And then when the Indian empire expanded to Southeast Asia, we brought sugarcane to India, and then we made molasses. And then molasses was very difficult to preserve and transport, and the volume was very high. Then we discovered that if you crystallize it, you can keep it forever. And then the sugar came about. And once we tasted the sugar, again, the same thing, you got the taste of sweetness, and we got completely crazy. And sugar was added to every food. Do you know? I did not know that. But when I go and eat vegetables in our home, my mother used to add sugar to most of the food. Even the food was spicy. So adding sugar became a standard practice in our diet. And I think that has been a big mistake. Yeah, sometimes on a party, you want to create a delicious food, then you can create this extra delicious food. But if that becomes an everyday and you're partying every other day, I mean, all of a sudden you are getting bombarded with amount of sugar. And sugar is the single most dangerous product. It is probably more dangerous than cocaine.
Wow.
So when you look at white powders, sugar, white flour,
Yeah.
and cocaine,
Right.
these are these are dangerous white powders.
They're all dangerous white powder. Well said, actually, because nowadays we have all the processed food is exactly bleached rice, bleached wheat, bleached sugar. Everything has been bleached and presented well for your eyes, and we fall for that.
Yeah,
Instead of,
there was not much obesity except in the extremely rich kingdoms
right.
until the flour mill came about 200 years ago.
Wow.
Because once the flour came and we started to make bread, then all the bets were off. Because bread is so delicious, particularly when it is fresh. Everybody was enjoying bread, and the obesity epidemic started with that.
And then one more person said, how about Splenda? I think we already covered that. It's all Splenda also is part of the.
So the monk fruit, and so what it is there are sweet chemicals where there is sweetness but no calorie. And monk fruit sugar, stevia, and various other sugar substitutes are, are safe to eat. They certainly are safer than sugar. So I had, when I was actively practicing, my patients would ask me, is saccharine good for me? Because I hear that it causes cancer. Yeah, it is true that if you, the experiment was done where they put saccharine in a rat, so much that the amount of saccharine the rat consumed was the same as body weight of the rat. Yeah, then anything you consume as much as your body weight is going to be harmful to you. But saccharine is much better than sugar if you want to substitute the sweetness.
So similar to that same topic, someone put it like, what is the find a better sugar alternative? Stevia, Splenda, equal, brown sugar, or a white sugar? What is good or bad? So I think you already covered, but
Yeah, the brown sugar is no better than white sugar. The only thing to remember is that in order to remove the brown color, the sugar is bleached. So the white sugar has more chemicals than the brown sugar. And jaggery is better than brown sugar. And sugarcane is better than jaggery. So, more purity you want, more preservatives you want, you will see more chemicals. It's like, when you want to preserve some food for a longer time, you're going to add some chemicals to it. So fresher you eat, less chemicals you eat, and that is healthier for body.
so in that respect, they are asking, one of them asking about the oil also. Similarly, oil, canola, vegetable, sunflower, olive oil, should we focus on trans fat, many variants here, or what?
That is a topic in itself, and if you guys want it, we can include that into our future discussion. But the long and the short is that the vegetable seed oil is not as good, uh, and therefore should be avoided. I would say a coconut oil is
Yes, that's
better,
what I'm about to say.
than the sunflower oil.
Yes, coconut oil used to be a bad one, but people have changed their mind. Scientists have changed their mind. Now, coconut oil seems to be good for healthier food one. As you said, that may be a next one. We will have a separate topic for that. The one thing which I thought of asking you is like, when we were young, we always had this fasting experience, as you were explaining about that starch food you used to have during the fasting. In my home also, my mom says it's a fasting day, but they will have a special food actually. And then I always think about, I want to go for fasting, because fasting means it will be provided with a tastier food than the regular days. I think most of us would have experienced this fasting. What do you call that, as a false fasting or a fake fasting? Um,
I agree with you. I mean, every time I hear about fasting, I only think of delicious food.
so most of us are having that experience. Any other question or anything, Thakurji, you want to share with our audience?
No, I think that I just want all of us to recognize that in the beginning, fasting will be a little bit difficult. But if you follow just 1 month of my technique of fasting on Monday that I described here, at the end of 1 month, you will be surprised how well you feel, how healthy you feel, and how much more energy you have. Uh, and you will certainly find this to be the most valuable knowledge.
Right. Sivaji, you raised your hand. You want to ask your question? I don't see it here. So Anidaji was mentioning that. If you have any question, you can ask also. We have another 20 minutes. If you don't have anything, we'll talk about something else. But if you have a question, you may please unmute yourself and please ask. So
So while we have time,
Yes.
it would be a good idea uh, for your audience to give you topics that they want to hear, so that we can accumulate
Right.
the
Yeah, put
the
that in.
various discussions that they want to hear. We can talk about it in future.
Yes, please put that on the chat box. I will be recording the whole thing, so I will have it. So put your favorite topic so that we can pick and choose from that, and then next topic can be one of your favorite topic actually. So put it out there. Um, maximum whoever comes with a lot of people are looking one popular topic. We will take the popular topic and then talk here. And I want to bring awareness and consciousness here is the take from this kind of a session is not just information. Please understand, information is there throughout in Google and YouTube and Instagram and whatnot. Everybody is talking. The whole world is chattering. Inner chatter is there, outer chatter is there, and we are also talking here and bring you. The most important thing is how much you are listening, how much you noted down, and how much you are going to practice. If you don't have end-to-end delivery here, then the whole thing is futile. So somebody was saying, thanks, very useful. Okay. And what about orange juice, fresh or other fresh juices?
It's a good question. Juice is absolutely, completely misunderstood and misused by people. I believe fruit juice is useless. Now, let me go back and elaborate on that. Fruits are wonderful. In addition to the sugar in the food, it also has vitamins and minerals, which are more important than sugar. But fruit also has fibers. Some fruits are more fibrous than the other. And many times when we take the juice out, we are actually throwing away the most useful part of the fruit. The classical example is apple juice. Of all the fruits, I feel the best fruit health-wise is apple. But when you look at apple juice, and if it is clear, like water clear, then you have thrown away the most valuable part, which is the fiber, the pectin within the apple. So if you are going to make a juice and throw away the fibers, then you are throwing away the real value. I went to this jamba juice.
Yes.
And I saw them making the fruit juices, and they would ask you sometimes, "Do you want fibers or not?" Because people have vegetable juice, and they throw away the real fiber of the vegetable. They do get vitamins in vegetable juice. You don't get much sugar. You do get minerals and vitamins, but the real element is the fiber. And therefore, I don't recommend juices. If you want to eat any fruit, particularly orange fruit, eat the whole orange. Don't just take the juice.
Okay, somebody want to. Thank you. And I will make you allow one more. I would like to add that in that is, lot of people buy juice. Generally people education is juice is good for health. But before you buy juices, look at the first ingredients or the second ingredients of the juices and how much sugar it has, and that's important. So if you are a good shopper nowadays, you don't look at the packing, how beautifully they packed and all those things. Go direct into the nutrients and what is the calorie details and what is this contains in this. And most of the thing you buy say chocolate, the first thing you want to see that what is the first ingredient. If the first ingredient is sugar, avoid it. It's not worth of having, and put that in your stomach. Stomach is a temple, body is a temple, so you don't want to do that. How about smoothies? Somebody was saying. I think you are muted. G, you are muted.
Some fruit juice has no juice. It is water, color, the flavoring,
Correct.
and sugar.
Correct.
And so, so it is absolutely And there are so many ways they can misguide you. Therefore, it is very best that you just, if you want to eat, have some juice, buy the fruit, and make your own.
Right. Actually, yeah. Be a smart consumer. If you consume properly, if you consume the right product, the product will get better and better. And that's why you see that the world is started providing organic products, started providing, best products to you, because consumer like us elevate our consciousness, start consuming the right product. That means your community produces what you need. So if you are buying more sugar related product, then the community is going to produce that because they are producing the need. So change your need, change your wants. And that's how our community can be more strong and healthier. It's not just one person. So any other questions, Sabriji? No one can unmute themselves freely. If they want to know, they can. I allow the participant to unmute themselves. It's on. So you can all do that, unmute yourself. Try it out one more time. Anitaji?
Thank you, Sabriji. Yeah, I want that was an excellent presentation. Really enjoyed it. I wanted to ask Dr. Tucker, what is the exact mechanism by which you get mental clarity when you fast? Is it the ketones or the nitric oxide? Dr.
Thakurji,
Tucker is muted.
yeah, you are muted, Ji.
I don't know how does it happen. I did not mute myself. Is it auto mute or what?
No, it is probably sometimes, I don't know.
Okay. So talking about mental clarity, I think mental clarity, the mental confusion occurs when too many thoughts are colliding with each other. So our goal is that if your emotions and if your activity level and if your distraction from your life, if you are continuously multitasking, it's very difficult to get mental clarity. When you do the fasting, you are actually uh, creating the appropriate level of sugar in your system that you are not damaging your brain cells. People who are diabetic and when the sugar starts to go to 300 to 400, their reasoning and intellect gets a little bit blunted.
Right.
At 500, 600, you actually become very, very slow. And at 800, you are in a coma.
Mhm.
So the quantity of sugar in your blood does affect the acuity of your brain. And when they say acuity of the brain, basically the information conducted through the wiring of the brain slows down when the chemistry of the body is not proper.
So to quieten your thoughts, is there some fasting helps?
Yes.
Fasting is one component, yes. I think that if your mind is not clear, you need meditation and yoga more than fasting.
So this is the right time to introduce my programs here, isn't it right?
Yeah, I think that as you saw in my presentation, everything begins with yoga. All aspect of life is yoga. That is the way I look at it. There are so many components within the Ashtanga yoga that every aspect of them are helpful to one or the other aspect of living.
So having said that, we have Ashtanga Yoga coming on August 15th. So if anyone would like to come for our level 1 program, it's on August 15th. And August 12th, we are starting 8 weeks of series of meditation, pranayama, and contemplation. These are all the methodologies to quieten our mind. And that's what we are talking about here, both mental and physical combination, the layers. As I said, you need exercise for 3 layers, the Stula Shariram, the Prana Shariram, and the Manonmaya Kosha. So at this world, at this juncture is compelling us to have exercise in all the 3 layers of the body, that is Yogasana, Pranayama, and meditation. So Anitaji, are you joining this series too, right?
Yes, the Thursday, definitely.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I see a question there about smoothie.
Yes, they were
Yeah,
asking.
the answer is smoothie is good. Just make sure smoothie like juice. Make sure that the fruits you use are whole fruit. And of course, try to avoid added sugar anywhere you can.
That's correct. Actually, fruit juice means don't put the sugar and then blend it. Just the fruit itself has a sugar in it. So it's just a matter of fact of getting used to it with your taste bud.
Right.
Any other question anyone can ask through your mic also, so you don't have to. So we got another.
Sabriji and Dr. Thakkar, this is Naresh.
Yes, Naresh.
I have a question. I know you have mentioned the name, what you call Aishwarya Rai or Hrithik Roshan. They are some kind of yoga or yogini, or we have to follow them, or who's those people are?
I think it was a joke. He was making
Oh.
it lighter.
It is Aishwarya Rai.
Oh,
I know you have mentioned before,
my wife is not around,
few
so I
times
can
you have
tell
mentioned few times.
she's my favorite actress. Very beautiful Miss Universe, and Hrithik Roshan is the male counterpart of Aishwarya Rai.
Oh, I have
they
no
both
idea.
are
I'm
my
sorry.
favorite
Both
too.
of them are film stars in India.
Oh,
Meditate,
I'm sorry. I had no idea. Thank you.
meditate on them.
Okay.
Seema has a question, I think. Yes, Seema.
No, I just have a very basic, simple question. How important are these nutrients, vitamins and minerals to take, all these, they say supplements to keep taking according to age group, 50 plus, 40 plus, 60 plus, so how do we go about finding the right ones, or even if we need them?
We don't need them.
Okay.
The only nutrient that I would say, the few nutrients that I would recommend that people to seriously consider is if you are vegetarian and you don't take much dairy, then you're not getting enough vitamin B12. So you need to take vitamin B12. Second thing is folic acid. Folic acid is a very important vitamin that helps formation of the blood and nerve cells. And folic acid comes from green leafy vegetables. And so if you're not eating well and you're traveling or if your eating habits are a little bit off, I think a combination of folic acid and B12 would be useful. So those are the two vitamins I would recommend. The third very essential vitamin that everybody should take, particularly darker the skin, more deficient of vitamin D you would be. So taking vitamin D, because almost all of us are deficient in vitamin D. So I would recommend that everybody should take a vitamin D3 supplement anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 units per day. It is a very important vitamin. And I also would recommend that people to take a calcium, one tablet of 500 milligram with magnesium and zinc as a supplement. So calcium, vitamin D, folic acid, and B12 are the supplement I would recommend. If you are eating normal, everyday, healthy food, you don't need anything else.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Hello, Shakant and Sabriji. I have more questions to ask you on the side, but I have a question. So you are suggesting we don't need multivitamins if we take all other supplements?
Right, we don't need multivitamins. But suppose if you're not eating well, and you depend a lot on processed food, then you may want to take a multivitamin will not hurt you. So if you take one a day vitamin of some kind, would be fine.
And I have a question on calcium and vitamin D3. I was told that you take one of those, not both.
No, I would say that you need both. If you want to take only one of the two, I would take vitamin D3.
And I have a question on intermittent fasting. I followed it last year and I read a lot about it, but you had more science behind it. So really enjoyed your session. But for me to lose weight for intermittent fasting to work, it has to be at least 20 hours fasting. I tried 12, tried 14, tried 15 with the calorie restriction. Oh, that's why that was my question on insulin resistant. And I've been also doing exercise and yoga. So that was my question on insulin resistant, that, you know, even though some people does exercise and follow the diet, but your body probably produces more insulin.
Right. Intermittent fasting, the real melting of the body starts at 18 hours.
Yeah.
But if you are going to be on a regular basis, your everyday life, if you want to maintain a good, healthy life, then at least 12 hours of fasting. How many times? Most people don't even do that. So my recommendation is at least for 12 hours a day, there should be nothing going in your mouth.
I'm off on it, but I need to get back on it. And I liked your theory, you know, Monday, half a day fasting, and then full 24-hour fasting.
You
So
know, I
I
used to meet ladies in India who would say they are fasting every Monday to get a good husband. And I think it makes sense. Firstly, of course, you don't gain weight. And the second thing is it is good for your health. And it also makes you a little bit smarter.
Absolutely. There is a reason for every small.
Yeah, I think you will get a good husband.
I like that sabudana khichdi fasting.
Oh, believe me.
That
don't
is my
remind me.
favorite too. But I stopped it too.
That's the only thing that breaks my fast.
Yeah.
That's true. That is a breaking point. And you know, as Dr. Thakurji is recommending on D3, and please, you know, California, we are here. I mean, why not stand in a sun, under the sun for 15 minutes on a daily basis? Is it a good?
Oh, absolutely. If you can expose your skin to sunlight for 15 minutes a day, there is nothing better than that. Because apart from vitamin D that it gives you, but I don't think it gives you that much vitamin D, but it certainly does give you natural vitamin D. It also has many other benefits to the skin.
Yes. Vitamin D is improve your absorption of all the nutrients from the food to your body as well. So that's why D3 is important for our growth and happiness and well-being. So I think we are 2 more minutes. I think somebody was saying 12 hours fasting can be from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Is that a question or must be a question? So they are asking 2 hours fasting can be from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Like, you know, previous day, 7 p.m. start the fasting and then end by 7 a.m. Will that be a 12 hours? Yes. Right, Dr. Thakurji?
Yeah.
Yes. So with that,
and there is a question regarding Ferrari food or the fasting food. That is just another salesperson trying to sell you something. Fasting is fasting. That means no food.
yeah, that's right. So with that, we are coming to our end of our session today. And thank you everyone for your very cheerful and active participation. And thank you for some of you show us your favorite topic. We will go through it and then we will come back with your favorite topic. And thank you one more time, Dr. Thakurji. My heartfelt gratitude to you and all the participants.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you to both of you and everyone. Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank